Yaroch Hisaneros, and the concept of setting up the candles, Uvahalus Aharon, that Aharon lifted up the candles. These two concepts of Yaroch and Yale, Lafi Masha Kasavnu Chayal Nera Neshama, according to what we explained here, it refers to the soul of the which ner is Aharon lifting up. It's the ner of the neshama. Yaroch u'bechinas eser sfiros shebenefesh. That setting up the candle refers to the 10 spheros within the soul. Uvahalos hiham shachim elamayla, and the elevation is to draw down from above. Lahalos haneshama bebechinas bechol meodecha, to lift up the soul in the concept of all of your might. V'yesh lahayir b'mashakasu b'perek Beperush Erochin, Beperek Erochin, Ish ki afli neder be'erkech nefashos, concerning the verse that when a man makes an oath of a neder when measuring souls. So you have a concept of yaroch, of the nefesh, setting up the soul, like we said, was setting it up with 10 spheros. V'amru Razal, and our sages said, Imatem mevim lefanai eruchen, ani matzil eschem marichas gehinom. And our sages said that if you bring in front of me these eruchen, these measures of people, the gifts to the temple that are in accordance with the shkalim of how much a person is worth, as defined in the Torah, I'm going to save you from the setting up the measure of gehinom. Like it says that is set up from before tufteh, which is the seduction of the Gehinom. B'Yishayas Lamed Daled Lamed Gimel V'Aroch Lifnechem Shulchan Lasilava, and I will set up a table for you in the time to come, so you'll get the other erech, the other yaroch of a setting up of a table. Like it says, until him you should set up you will set up a table for me. Tilim Chav Gimel Hey. Huva bebechayos of Parshas Bichukosai. V'kef filakofin be'erkecha. So now you also have a concept of in the pasuk Be'erkecha nefashos Hashem. It has two kafs. What are the two kafs? Al derech be'erech kaf, like the concept of the measure of the palm. Ratzolom Shorosh HaNefesh Elokis Mekisei Kavod Chulu. Or the erech of the kaf, and look what it says in the Erech HaKinoim, that the source of the soul, Elokis, the source of the divine soul, is from Mekisei Kavod Chulu, is from the throne of honor. Now this word erech has two meanings. Ha'echad lashon sidur. The first is the language of placing in order. Like the translation of Yaroch also, that he will set them up, is that he will make them in order. Like it's like the pasuk, and they will make in order. The sons of Aaron will set up in its order fire. Habez lashon shivoy v'shuma. The second is the language of the value and measuring. Zeu Inyan Parshas Eruchin, and that's the concept of the Parsha in the Torah about measuring something and finding its value. V'kemo v'ata enosh kerki, and like David says about Achitofel until Nun Hey Yudaled, and you are a man like my measure. V'chein lo yarchen hazahav, and like it says in Eov Kaf Ches Yud Zayin, and you cannot measure it with gold and so forth. In Aroch Elacha, that there's no one who measures to you. Tilim Simin Mem Pasuk Vav. Mi b'shachak Yaroch Lashem. Tilim Pei Tes Zayin, and who in the heavens can you compare to Hashem? Lo yada enosh erka, and a man does not know its value. Iyov kav chesed gimel. V'hine lashon erech v'shivoy targum domer. Now the in the word, when you find erech and shivoy, the targum is similar. Kamo enosh kerki, the damili. You are a man like my value. That the targum is that you're compared to me. And like the verse in Yeshaya, and what likeness can you measure towards him? And so too Rashi explains on the verse that there's no one who's compared to you, that there's no one who is in your likeness. Targum Yonasan al pasuk mi b'shachak yaruch la'Hashem umi b'shachaki d'mishtavi lechulu. And so to the Targum Yonasan on who in the heavens can be compared to you is who in the shachakim is that's like you, and so forth. V'im kein b'chinazu b'nefesh ha'adam she'iyeh b'chinas adam adam el elyon. If so, the concept of erech in the soul, then, according to this definition, not the sader, but yaruch like lidmos, is that the person should be adam el elyon. The person should compare himself to on high and try to be in the likeness of on high. V'kemoshikos b'medrash rabba parsha vayishlach reish parsha ayin zayin al pasuk ein kel yishurun ein kekel umi kekel yishurun. It says, who is like the kel of Yishurun? That there's no one like the kel, and who can you compare to the kel of Yishurun? And that is through cleaving to his attributes and so forth. You liken yourself to Yishurun, the kel of Yishurun. And there's it says on the bottom, B'rosh Amud, that on the top of the page, the Tzemach writes, V'zeot son Adam, and this is the idea of sheep of men, like the pasuk, I think in Yirmiyah, that says, Ten Tzoni Tzon Marisi, or it says that there's a pasuk that he compares us, L'tzon Adam, and Hagem Ketzon Adam, and that might be, that's in a different place. Mitzad Adam, that from this idea of to compare to, or Adam, that we try to compare to on high, Ach Lagabi Atzmuso, Tzon Behemos Haisimach, but in comparison to his essence, we're Tzon, now we're Behemos Haisimach, we're like animals in comparison to you, that there's no comparison. And back inside, the Lashon Siddur Yishlomar, and the language of Yaruch as it is in to set it up, we can explain further. We can say Seder Tefillah Tchila, that it refers to the order of prayer. Psuke de Zimra, first that you have Tchila Psuke de Zimra, Achar Kach Birchos Kriya Shema. The first you have the Psuke de Zimra, and only then the blessings of Shema. V'chein Siddur Esor Sfiros HaNefesh, and so to this order is the 10 Sfiros of the soul. Like he said before, Lakasher Chabad Shelo B'Chabad Shelo Yisparich, that is to tie your Chabad to his Chabad, may be blessed, Ohr Hatorah, which is the Torah. So that the Yisader also refers to study of Torah by setting up the Sfiros to correspond with above, to set up your mind to be in its proper order. And to set up your thought, speech, and action of the thought, speech, and action of man to the thought, speech, and to his thought, speech, and action may be blessed. Parshas Vayetze, Dibur and like it says in the Mamar, if I don't know you, the beautiful amongst women, that this refers to the neshama as it's beautiful, Torah v'yafei Torah v'yafei mare, meaning in its study of Torah and its doing of mitzvos, v'im keinu b'halus meodecha, And if so, if Bahalus refers to V'chol Me'odecha, like it brings in another place that Yaroch refers to V'chol Nafshecha, Bahalus B'chol Me'odecha, Me'od Osios Adam. So Me'od is the same letters as the word Adam. So Hu Pnimis Shel B'chinas Adam, but that's the inner concept of Adam. Bebir Libavtini, like it's brought in the Mamer Libavtini, V'zeu Bahalus L'B'chinas Ein Aruch Lecha. And that's the concept of Vahalos, that it's the second level. It's Adam, but it's on a higher level. That's why it's not Yaroch, it's Yale, because we're lifting up to the concept of Ein Aruch Lecha, that there's no one comparable to you. That I guess he seems to imply that Yaroch, in the language of Yisad, that is the lower level, but Yaroch in the language of to compare to is connected with a higher level, like a B'chol Me'odecha and like Uvahalos. V'od yesh lomar, we can further say Perush Yaroch Uvahalos. What does it mean to set up and to lift up? Al derech hanizkar b'likutei Torah b'dibur hamaschil b'haloscha, like it's brought in Likutei Torah that Aaron should lift up the candles. Ha'efresh bein Avram Avinu alav shalom. The difference between Aharon's ahava and Avram Avinu alav shalom. The Avram Avas Olam, the Avraham, ubein Ahavara the Aaron chulu. The difference between the love of the worlds of Avraham and the great love of Aaron and so forth. V'chein ubetorah or Parshas Tezaveh b'dibur hamaschil v'asisa b'gdei kodesh la'Aaron is chesed v'is chesed, like it's brought in Tezaveh in Torah, or that you should make garments of holy to Aaron, because there's a kindness and there's another kind of kindness. Mainu chesed dezah. And that is that there's a kindness of Zerampin, that the emotion is drawn from the intellect. Derech ilva alol, in a way of cause and effect. Shekal alol yeshlo erech v'yachas imi laso, that any effect has some kind of comparison to its cause. V'cheinu b'nefesh b'chinas hamidos hanimshachim masechel, so it is in the soul, the emotions that are drawn from the intellect of al b'chinas v'rav chesed. But the concept of great kindness, hulamayla mishtal shlos chulu, is higher than this order of gradation. She'ein aroch elecha klal chulu, that there's no comparison to you at all. This concept of rav chesed, it's not in intellect in comparison to emotions, but rather it's incomparable at all. And this is drawn through hairs, like the good oil and so forth, like an aron chulu that runs down the hairs of his beard. It's coming from keser, an ava that's beyond intellect. And you draw down also onto your soul a revelation of this great love. This great love from the concept of great kindness and so forth, and it's from the concept of the mazal, and the root of the soul above, not just from the intellect, but from the source of the soul being revealed downwards into you. And if so, these two ideas of intellect, love according to intellect of Avraham, and love beyond intellect of Avarabba of Aaron, it's like the difference between setting up the candles and lifting them up. Perush Yaroch Sidur Neros HaMenorah, that is to say, to set them up is to set up the candles of the menorah. Hainu Zayin Midos Tezah, that is the 7 attributes of Zeranpin, Shereshis and Chesed Olam Chulu, that the first one is Chesed of the world, Ahavas Olam, Bainu Amidos and Imshachim Masechel, that refers to the emotions that are drawn from the intellect, Beseder Ishtalshlus, in the order of gradation, Ulchin Yaroch Ugam Kin Lashon Erech, and therefore to set up is also a language of comparison, of measure, Shekal Alol Yeshlo Eze Erech V'yachas Imilaso, because each effect has some kind of comparison to its cause. So Yaroch is also from the language of comparison, because it has a comparison. And that's like in the order of gradation. that the emotions have some comparison to the intellect, and so forth. But when Aaron lifts the candles, that's the drawing down of the great love from the concept of great kindness. It's from the concept of not erech as measure, but like we say, that there's no comparison to you. It's beyond the erech. Beyond, because it's the yalet. And this is what our sages said in Rabos Emor. So if Parsha Lamed Aleph B'schus Yaroch Tinatzlu min ki aruch etmul, and that in the merit of that Aaron setting up the candles will be saved from the Gehinom which is set up. Ki hine Inyan aruch dekaya Gehinom meine zayin meduros de Gehinom, that the concept of that Gehinom is set up, that is the 7 bonfires of Gehinom, Shem Gam Kain Neged Zayin Midos, which also corresponds with the 7 emotional attributes. Ulechein al yidei aroch zayin nedos zayin midos elyonos datzilus nitzal mizayin medoros Gehenam, and therefore through setting up the 7 candles, the 7 emotional attributes of Atzilus, you're saved from the other 7, these 7 bonfires of Gehinom. Because when you reveal the supernal emotional attributes, that nullifies the 7 bad emotional attributes. And in the merit of lifting up the candle, you'll merit to receive the concept of there I will sprout forth the glory of setting up the candle. It's a concept of the candle of Mashiach, a higher level. Because this idea of to lift up, which is the concept of with all of your might, through it you'll will come the concept of here is my servant will be successful, meaning Mashiach. And it'll be very high, that Mashiach is described with the concept of me'od, which, like we said, is the idea of bechol me'odecha, of v'halos. So it's you have both concepts are connected with Lasi Lava, but one saves you from the bad and one brings down the good of Mashiach. Yaroch and Yalet.